In this video, we will be discussing the muscles and the tendons in the second layer of the foot. We'll start with this muscle over here, the Quadratus Planty muscle, also known as the Flexor Digitorum accessorius, for reasons I will explain. So if in simple terms, we can say that the origin of this muscle is from the medial and the lateral surface of the calcaneum bone. But if you want to give the origin in some detail, you can say that the muscle has two heads of origin. The medial head is more fleshy and bulkier, whereas the lateral head is more tendinous. You can even see the tendon portion over here. So the medial head originates from the concave medial surface of the calcaneum, whereas the lateral head originates in front of the lateral tubercle, and the lateral tubercle is over here, and that from the lateral tubercle you basically have the origin of the abductor digiti minimi. Anyways, this muscle originates in front of this tubercle, right? So this is the origin. What about the insertion? The insertion happens over here onto the lateral side of the tendon of the flexor digitorum longus. So basically this is the Quadratus Planty muscle. And what about the function? It basically straightens the flexor tendons so that they can carry out their function of flexion of the toes with better efficiency. This is the function that they have. They straighten the pull of the muscles. My apologies, they straighten the pull of the long flexor tendons, if that makes any sense. As for the nerve supply, it is supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. So if you go to the second muscle, other than the Quadratus planty, we have the lumbrical muscles. 4 of these we number from medial to lateral. So this is the first, this is the second, the third and the fourth lumbricals. The first is unipinnate, the second, the third and the fourth are bipinnate, and this is something that can, my apologies, and this is something that can actually be asked in an MCQ. So something you ought to be prepared for. So the origin is from the flexor digitorum longus. So it's these tendons are offering both insertion and origin. So the first tendon or the middlemost tendon of the flexor digitorum longus offers origin to the first lumbrical, whereas the second lumbrical gets its origin from the adjoining sides of the first and the second, whereas the third gets from the adjoining sides of the third and the fourth. The fourth lumbrical gets its origin from the adjoining side of the fourth and the fifth flexor tendons. The origin is simple enough. The question is, where does the insertion of the lumbrical happen? The lumbricals, they insert into the extensor expansion of the sole of the feet. And the functions of the lumbricals is that they basically keep the toes extended at the interphalangeal joints. And so they basically ensure that when you're walking or moving, your toes do not buckle beneath your feet. Right, so I'm hoping you got this. Now we can talk about these. This is the flexor digitorum longus. These are the 4 tendons. You should know where the insertion happens. The insertion happens onto the base of the distal phalanx of the lateral 4 toes, right? And the origin of the flexor digitorum longus is from the tibia. You should know that. From the posterior surface of the tibia, to be exact, because the flexor muscles are a muscle of the posterior compartment. And what part of it? From the part of the posterior surface beneath the soleal line, and that part is divided into the medial and the lateral part, and the medial part is basically giving origin to the flexor digitorum longus muscles. As for the flexor hallucis longus, just like the flexor digitorum longus, insertion happens on the base of the distal phalanx of the great toe, and again this serves the purpose of flexion, right? So the flexion of all of these right? And in addition, one purpose that is served by both of these is that they basically maintain the medial longitudinal arches in addition to plantar flexion of the toes and that of the ankle. And these two are supplied by the tibial nerve, whereas the lumbricals, the first one is supplied, because this is the medial one, is supplied by the medial plantar nerve, whereas the rest of these are supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. And this one over here is supplied by the lateral plantar nerve. I'm hoping you found this to be helpful. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment.